transitioning now to our next group, moving on from Lawler and Mayer, we're going to move over to a couple other guys here, Coby Mayo and Sebastian Walcott. This one kind of sparked some debate when I mentioned that we were going to compare these guys in the Discord. Some people were, like, hey, these guys have a pretty big age gap and that kind of thing, but that's not something that was really considered. It was really more along the lines of where they ranked, and let's go ahead and contrast these guys based on their close proximity and ranking. Coby Mayo ranked by Pipeline at 13. The upside prospect has him at 20, whereas Sebastian Walcott, Pipeline has him at 16, and the upside prospect at number 8. This time I'll let Ram go first, kind of alternating turns here. Ram, what do you got on Mayo versus Walcott? Are you taking this prospect in Mayo or that prospect in Walcott?
This one I feel is hard. I looked at some data back and forth. I look at both these guys' profiles. I do think Coby Mayo is going to end up at first long term, and it really comes down to when I was saying about Clark and Baz that those are guys with solid floors. I could see a future where neither of these guys have a solid floor. And I'm being honest in the fact that, like, I this is just my personal opinion. It's obviously not fact, but there's a future where I could see both Coby Mayo and Sebastian Walcott not panning out to doing like flashes in the pan. In this case, because I actually consider them to be so close, I'm taking the literal upside on Walcott. I think that he might be able to do something special. I know that there is an age gap between them, and in a way that kind of, for me, gives me that where I'm thinking, all right, am I going to get another 2-3 years out of Walcott? He makes me extremely nervous to the point where I don't really have stock in him in any leagues. And I feel like Mayo is the safer choice in this case. But when it comes down to prospects, if we think about failure rate and success rate, I might as well take the guy who might have a higher upside. So for me, I'm taking Walcott here.
Fair enough. What do you got, GT?
No, I'm with Ram. It was tough. I went back and forth a little bit. But I think the upside on Walcott is just too big to ignore. Mayo could be a middle of the order power bat, and he looks like he there's a good chance he will be. Will he play third? Probably not. And he's back in AAA again. He couldn't crack the roster coming out of spring. Is that a knock? Probably not. Orioles are pretty deep. They really seem to like some of the bets they carry around. Also, they haven't just fully embraced, like, here's our young crop of guys, go get them. So I think you have to go with Walcott because he has physical tools that the elite of the elite in the majors have. So whether it all comes together, who knows? Rick did a piece last year about his K rate in DSL and complex, and then guys with a K rate that high have never panned out, like, ever. So he would be the first one to ever do it. So there is risk there, but with any spec, there's a risk. And then I'm always focused toward fantasy. So if I had Mayo, could I trade him for Walcott? I couldn't. I don't think I could. Now, if I had Walcott and I like Mayo, I could probably get Mayo plus something for my Walcott. Yes. So you got to go with Walcott. You got to go for the upside here,
Yeah, I think most of us are leaning the same way, especially with Baltimore having not, given Mayo that extended run yet. So that you got to listen. A lot of times JT mentions watch what the teams are telling you. So I think in this case, the teams are telling us that to lean Walcott here. One of the things that I think is impressive about Sebastian Walcott is the fact that he's had moments of struggle where his K rate got really out of control, but then he's shown the maturity and the baseball acumen to reduce that and cut it and then take off again. So I think that's a really good indicator for how Sebastian Walcott's going to progress.
Can I
appreciate you guys' feedback on that one. Yeah, go ahead.
Like when we go back to listen to what the team says, Walcott jumped A.
Yeah.
He never played an inning in A ball. He's been young for his age everywhere he's gone. And the Rangers, which they do that, they're young guys. If they feel like they're at a level and they're showed they can handle it, boom, there's no waiting around. They run them on up. So Walcott's getting ran all up. He's in Double-A. He's one level behind Mayo, and he's 3 years younger. So listen to what the Rangers think.
19 in Double-A is nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Is he 19 still?
Yeah,
he's
according to
19 right now.
Fangraphs, yeah, 19.
Yeah. So the average age of batters
turned
in
19
Double A
last
is
month.
24.
He just turned 19 in March, so.
Yeah, he's asking people to go buy him beer.
Clay has to say if Mayo was the guy, he'd already be in Baltimore. That kind of feeds into what we were talking about. Listen to the teams or pay attention to what the teams are telling us. And then Kenny, Ryan Mountcastle shouldn't be good enough to block Mayo, but he apparently is. Tells me what I need to know. Still a very good prospect.
It's not just Mountcastle either. They seem to love Ryan O'Hearn.
Well, and you've got Westberg as well.
Yeah, the Ryan O'Hearn thing, as JT pointed out, is actually one that is one of those that makes me, I'm not gonna say worried, but as to speak to what the team is doing, I'm like, if Mayo's as good as advertised, then he should be getting time over both of those gentlemen. He should be the full-time guy. So, granted, I will say that just might mean that they think he needs more time. Not that he's not the future. Not to argue with you there, Clay. But it doesn't mean that they don't think he's the guy. They just might think he needs a little more seasoning. I mean, there are some prospect rankings that give him a 70 out of 80 for power. Like a 70 power will play. And if you're able to bat above 250, something like that, you're going to find a way to, even if it's first baseman, you'll let him mash. So there's still, I don't think the luster is gone off him yet. I just think they want to wait a little more because they might be nervous he can't handle it full time yet.
Yeah, and they're competing. They're trying to win a World Series. They're trying to win a division, and they're comfortable with what Mountcastle and O'Hearn are giving them. Then, and Westberg has played really well. It's his. He took it. Westberg.
Well, and I tell you, one of the things that really surprised me, and I'm I'm kind of going on a tangent here just because you brought him up, JT, is Ryan O'Hearn. That was a guy that was left for dead and released by Kansas City. I mean, he was awful in Kansas City.
He was.
And the Orioles pick him up off the scrap heap, and he's been serviceable. He's not a great player, but he's been serviceable for them. So to me, that says something about their ability to develop bats. I mean, if you look at it back in 2023, he had an 801 OPS when his first year there. His WRC pluses in 23 were 118, and in 24 119. So to me, that's impressive to see. Baltimore was able to kind of basically turn his career around when it was left for dead.
Yeah, it's hard to. They're a contending team with a really cheap guy producing at 20% higher than the median major league player. It's hard for them to give that up. Like you said, like Ram said, there's something. The glove, there's some seasoning, maybe the chase issues, the K rate they're worried about when he's against major league pitchers every day. They just want him to keep getting better.
And then Clay follows up with they also gave time for Mountcastle at AAA a few years ago as well. So they have been known to kind of take their time with guys in the upper levels of the minor leagues, whereas we like to see them. We like to see those guys get promoted because we want to see them on the big stage. But Baltimore obviously likes to give those guys their time and wait until they feel they're 100% ready before they make the splurge basically. Clay also mentions they also have to consider the clubhouse. Not sure what kind of personality he is, how that fits. I don't really know. I don't really know anything about his personality.
He's talking about O'Hearn there because he followed up saying he's a leader in the clubhouse.
Oh,
he was
okay,
on
there
that,
you go.
Yeah. So that's true. I mean, clubhouse guys, of course, that's a big thing.
O'Hearn didn't debut until 2018, so he was not on the Kansas City World Series team. I believe that was 2016. Peter, can you tell us what year the Royals won the World Series?
And we are moving on. That was 2015, and we're moving on. We are
2015.
We are not talking about any of that. We can move on to anything else. I'll talk about Dollander. I'll talk about anything. Let's not talk about the Royals and who they beat in the World Series.
I don't know who they even played. JT, do you know who the Royals played in the World Series in 2015?
Wasn't the Reds.
I like how he avoids that subject.
Good answer. This is why JT's my guy, man. This is that's why we can work together. And funny enough, we're 3 for 3 on agreeing with each other. So at some point now, I feel like I have to go the opposite just to create debate because we just got a podcast of us agreeing with each other right now.
Yeah, we got 2 left. We might disagree.
Yep. Two more comparisons and decisions to go.